Hello everybody and welcome to this discussion of the new Victory Cube update of Dead by Daylight. I did a video that briefly covered how it worked and I was in the thought that this was a purely positive update to the game. Link in the description down below. It only took me an hour to realize the massive amount of hate it was getting for reasons I can't fathom, so in this video today we will take the time to actually break this down and go over the voiced complaints and explain why the Victory Cube is actually a great update in comparison to the hate it receives. Before we begin, let's cover what the Victory Cube is. Essentially, the Victory Cube is a win-loss condition for the killer. Condition is dependent on the new killer goals. A killer gets goal points each time they perform one of the following conditions. 1 point for a survivor hook, 1 point for the struggle phase, 2 points for the sacrifice, 1 point for a bleed out, 2 points for a mori, and 2 points for a disconnect during loading, 4 points for a disconnect during trial. Each survivor can only provide a maximum of 4 points, so even if you attempt to score more than the maximum of 4, the additional points will be ignored. If the killer disconnects, then all points are lost and they lose a pip. Depending on how many points the killer gets, he will lose, safety, or gain pips. 7 or less is a loss of a pip, 8 is a safety, 9 and up is a single pip, and a result of a maximum of 16 is the double pip. This helps show how effective a killer has been, as it has been a very much needed update, as the killer didn't used to have to be lethal in order to gain these pips. A common method of gaining pips just required the killer to assure he had 10,000 points. This allows a killer to be friendly and not require them to kill anybody at all and still pip. This has been common amongst people who boost for points and allow survivors and killers to work together in order for them both to gain. When a killer gains points, so does the survivor. This would make it hard for the killer to be rewarded for his kills if he wasn't attempting to abuse the system for points, which in turn gives the survivor points. The first common complaint of the Victory Cube I ran across was that this update ruins the viability of some killers. However, when looking back at it, this complaint should still have remained with the prior system. Some killers were inherently better at getting points, while others were inherently better at outright killing. Either way, the system cannot be blamed for this, as if the prior system was free from the same issues. In the end, however, the killer is there to kill. The choice of the killer is given to the player and is up to that player's playstyle. Some players are better with the Wraith, while I myself prefer killers like the Hillbilly. Back in the prior system, I could have previously played the Doctor of Shape just to abuse the deviousness system and easily get a 20,000 points with killing maybe 1 or 2 people. This method of conditions has encouraged the killers to kill, and has prevented killers from being friendly. This also helps prevent the boosting, which also prevents double pipping on both sides. If the survivors escape, then the killer doesn't double pip, but if the killer kills them all, it's not possible for the survivors to double pip, as survival is one of the requirements to do so. This also puts killers in the proper rank in proportion to their actual skill. If a killer is unable to defeat more than 2 survivors, they don't get the opportunity to advance to the next rank. 2 kills is about the average, and if you are averaging 2 kills per game, then you are at the right rank and you shouldn't go up and you shouldn't go down. But if the killer is, however, dominating, then they are going to give their proper rank by going up, and then that puts those high-skilled killers against the higher-skilled survivors. Now, I know the matchmaking is a little off and sometimes rank 1s go against rank 20s, but this is more about the Victory Cube and the purpose of it rather than the matchmaking. So if we were to discuss the matchmaking and the effects of how it doesn't work properly with the rank, that would be for another video, but right now, that's what the Victory Cube seems to do, even if the matchmaking doesn't always pin you properly. So the next complaints I've seen often is the rise of camping, apparently. Several people have complained that the new set of points encourages camping, but I don't see how that's even possible. The time in which a survivor is hooked since this update has been increased by 15 seconds. If a killer begins to camp, they're more likely to be heavily punished. Prior campers were also rewarded when people attempted to make the save. They got points for finding that person trying to be a hero, they got points for scaring them off, dealing any damage to them, or even hooking them if they got it. Granted, if you get hooked now, you still give that camper some points, but for him finding you and hurting you, it only awards him the blood points, but not towards his overall goal. In this new update of the Victory Cube, campers should struggle for as long as the survivors don't actively go out of their way to reward the camping. If a camper is present, then you can accomplish a generator per survivor, not on a hook. So, for example, if a player is downed and camped and this is the first survivor to go down, then the 3 survivors that remain off the hook can get 3 generators. That's more than half of the 5, or well, exactly half, however you want to look at it. Now let's say that second survivor goes down and also gets camped, leaving the 2 final survivors to finish the last 2 remaining generators, opening the door and getting out. This would leave the camper with with exactly 8 points. Looking back at the victory cube, the killer can't pip from 8 points. They're just able to safety pip. That would leave the killer right at his rank, and he shouldn't have been going up unless survivors were actively rewarding him. And as he goes up, better survivors will get away from campers, and this will eventually put him down, and as he continues to camp, he will stay at the proper rank of whatever he's set at. So then that leaves it up to you, the survivor, to make sure you don't reward the camping. If you see someone camping, I know it's hard to let someone go, but sometimes let them go. Let that killer fall in rank. If he can only camp one of you and you got all the generators, he goes down. He has to actively kill 2 people completely just to safety. This should set the killers all in their proper skill levels to their rank. If survivors are seeing an increased amount of campers, then the survivors might actually be in their proper rank, which is why I'm confused as to how this encourages camping any more than the prior system. As you learn to be a survivor, the one thing you'll be able to see is who a camper is, and then that should tell you that is your chance to rank up. Get out of that rank and move on to a rank that has active killers. And moving on to a complaint I want to really cover is that Dead by Daylight is not competitive. To which I heavily disagree. A quote that I read was, "DBD is not a competitive game and it never will be," followed by, "Altering the ranking system shouldn't be done at the cost of enjoyment for the average player." Sure, this game isn't an esports game, but it definitely has a form of competition. If you care at all about your rank, you are giving in to the competitive side of this game. If you truly say that this game is strictly casual for the average player, then the ranks should not matter, and the remaining arguments about ranks in the competitive side of Dead by Daylight should end there. However, if you try to argue that this is a casual game, but you're sitting there telling me that your rank 1 matters, then you gave into the competitive side and you are being competitive, ergo, the game is competitive. This is a versus game only. There's no PvE, it's just player versus 4 players. And to be honest, it's about as competitive as it always gets. Being rank 1 is a competitive thing. If you play this casually, your rank doesn't matter. Just go into the game and have fun, but at a lower rank, you'll notice that players don't have all that skill, or they're sometimes brand new. So getting out of that rank would put you against better players, and that's you trying to be more competitive because you don't want to deal with low skill things. Overall, I would like to get more input as to regarding why this update got so much negativity, but I believe that this covers a few of the major points that I saw very common throughout the section of Reddit that I was reading. If you have any complaints or feedback about the Victory Cube, let me know in the comments down below. If you have anything to discuss about this, please let me know. I will respond as fast as I can. However, if you do enjoy this change, such as myself, who loves it as the perfect update that it is, I suggest attempting to make a positive note about it on their Reddit, and that should help the developers see the change is indeed positive. Anyways, thank you everybody for watching. Please let me know your discussion down below. Thank you for listening. Like, comment, and subscribe. And as always, good game.